Well, to get more insight, we can speak now to lecturer in political science, Lex Paulson. Thanks so much for your time and joining us on France 24. We've just heard Mamdani speaking a bit there, but, you know, certainly from abroad, his rise in politics has been extremely rapid. Can you tell us a bit more about him and his politics?
Well, Mamdani is a member of the New York State Assembly. He's 33. He has a very interesting life story as someone who grew up in New York City, but with immigrant roots, as is the case with many millions of New Yorkers. He studied at Bowdoin College in Maine, and so has also an activist as well as a liberal arts intellectual background. I think much is made of the fact that he calls himself a democratic socialist, although when you look at the actual issues that he's talking about, things like reduced fare bus journeys, rent freezes, things like state subsidized or city subsidized grocery stores, these are not things that would cause a Marxist or Leninist to storm the barricades. These are very quality of life, cost of living oriented proposals. Mamdani has really taken advantage of the new modes of communication and campaigning, especially straight to video, YouTube shorts and TikTok shorts, to interview New Yorkers and make his case. He really shows a deep affection for New York, as opposed to someone who is trying to criticize or break down a system. You can tell when you watch Mamdani campaign how deeply he loves the city and how laser focused he is on the human problems facing the city. Number one being that New York is becoming an increasingly expensive, prohibitively expensive place to live for most of its working people.
So if, as we are currently assuming, he does get elected, how much will he actually change New York City, and in what way?
Well, becoming mayor of New York City is in many ways a thankless job. A friend of mine who worked at City Hall used to say that, you know, New York City's mayor's day is taken up with choosing between two bad decisions and trying to choose the least bad. And you're managing an enormous bureaucracy of hundreds of thousands of city workers. So I think Mamdani has to show the same kind of creativity and energy as a manager as he has as a legislator and campaigner. All signs so far is that he has really been diligent in seeking advice from people who know how to manage these large bureaucracies. So I do think that as someone who is, I would say, in the center left of New York City politics, maybe from the far left of American politics, but not too far on the fringes when it comes to New York City, that he will be able to build coalitions around some of these issues. Is he going to solve the housing problem in New York? No, but I think he's going to tilt the discussion toward housing and toward especially the problems of renters and those seeking to get their first home in New York City, which is becoming vanishingly difficult. So I do think Mamdani will have enormous difficulties, but he looks like the kind of person with his energy, his creativity, his seriousness, but also his sense of humor and whimsy, who, if anyone could succeed in this very difficult job, it might just well be him.
One challenge he faces, though, is the President Donald Trump, which has been very clear in his opposition to Mamdani. He's gone from threatening to arrest and deport him to saying he'll simply cut federal funding to New York City.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game that the federal government has played before with New York City. One of the most famous newspaper headlines in American history was during the 1970s when New York went through a bankruptcy period. Gerald Ford was president, and the headline said, "Ford to city, drop dead." So, I mean, this is a very old story. Frankly, I think Trump has a lot to lose by mismanaging his relationship with New York City, just because so much of the financial and media attention of America is perpetually centered upon New York. So causing needless friction, dysfunction, violence that can be directly attributed to Trump. And of course, he wants to attribute everything to him. It's going to hurt him a lot more in New York than it would in a place like, Philadelphia or Albuquerque. So I think Donald Trump will pick fights with New York City, but I also think New York City, New Yorkers are resilient. They're used to being picked on by the federal government. And Mamdani doesn't seem like the kind of person who is going to shy away from a fight.
And how do businesses see Mamdani?
Yeah, I think it's very different depending on who you ask. I think the business community, some of the folks on the right who have funded Cuomo's campaign, have been demagoguing Mamdani as a socialist or a communist who's going to be disastrous for business. Frankly, it's a great time to do business in New York City, especially if you have money in the markets. The markets have been doing phenomenally well. So Mamdani, what he's trying to focus on is how can we, as an entire community in New York City, make sure that the kind of economic benefits that have been going very disproportionately to the richest New Yorkers become something that benefits all New Yorkers. And I think there are ways of doing that in a win-win manner. If you create more housing, if you create safer streets, these are things that rich and poor New Yorkers benefit from. And so I think there are a lot of issues actually that don't divide on economic class, but that are quality of life issues that everyone in New York benefits from. I think Mamdani, he doesn't seem like the kind of person who picks fights just to win a kind of a symbolic culture war as Trump does. Mamdani seems the kind of person who, if a business leader has a problem that he can address, he's going to listen. But what he's not going to do is compromise to the very, very wealthy interests that tend to dominate American politics.
Now, of course, it is a three-man race. I mean, Mamdani is running for the Democrat Party, but then you have a former Democrat governor, Andrew Cuomo, who's now running as an independent, and he is the candidate, not the Republican one. He's the candidate that has the backing from the US President Donald Trump. I mean, how much should we read into this on the state of the Democrat Party and what it might mean for future elections?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I was actually kind of surprised to see that Cuomo accepted Trump's endorsement. Now, Trump did do significantly better in New York City in 2024 than he had in 2016 and 2020. So it does show that Trump's political support in the city of New York has broadened, including voters of color and voters of lower income. So I can see Cuomo. I can see a little bit why he would have thought that this was a good idea. But as someone who is the son of a Democratic icon, Mario Cuomo, his father, who had governed the state for many years, and part of this political dynasty, it does strike me as kind of a desperate maneuver to accept Trump's nomination this late in the game. He did quite well during COVID. He resigned because of a sex scandal. 11 women accused him of inappropriate sexual behavior. He doesn't seem to have any new ideas for the city. He ran a quite listless primary campaign, and Mamdani, with his energy, with his dynamism, I think took Andrew Cuomo very much by surprise. But Cuomo is a candidate of the status quo. If you are a very wealthy New Yorker and you want to make sure, above all, that no one raises your taxes, I think Cuomo will speak to you. He also tried to make this race about Israel and Gaza, given that Mamdani's been very critical of Israel's genocide in Gaza, and Cuomo has tried to paint Mamdani as some kind of a Muslim extremist. I don't think it's working terribly well, given how diverse New York is, given that most New Yorkers have Muslim friends or colleagues. This is an extremely diverse city, and playing that kind of demagogue type game, I don't think is going to be as effective as it would be in other places in the U.S. So yeah, I think Cuomo has woken up to the fact that he is likely to lose this race. But really, given all the resources that were behind him, the fault can only be his own.
And finally, before we leave you, the Republican candidate in the race getting very little attention, really falling far behind, not even getting the support of the Republican president. I mean, what does this mean for the Republican Party? And we are just a year away from the midterms.
Yeah, I mean, Republicans used to win the mayoralty in New York. I mean, going back to Giuliani, Bloomberg ran as a Republican. But use the word attention. I think the word attention is really important. We've left an era of American politics behind that was decided by money. We're in the era where the success of a political candidate is defined by attention. And so where you are on the left-right spectrum is less and less important. And your ability to magnetize interest through earned media, through online ads and videos, This is what determines success in American politics in the 2020s. Mamdani has that. Cuomo briefly had that when he did these daily briefings during the COVID times, but he looks totally listless and out of energy. And Sliwa, he has kind of a sideshow appeal, but I don't think anyone thinks that a Republican has a chance in this year's election. But again, party labels are going to mean less. And attention-grabbing charisma and magnetism. This is what is coming to define the future of American politics.
Lex Paulson, thanks so much for bringing us your insight and giving us your time here on France 24. Very much appreciated.